The Poetry of Wit in Contemporary American Poetry. Introduction. Bill Collins, British Perceptions, Collins Poet, Summary, Conclusions, and Reference. Introduction. This poetry, including humor and sense of incongruous and flights of fancy, lies close to word. Wit depends on the intersection of two or more frames of reference and on acute discrimination. This is worldly poetry. Bill Collins. His full name is William James Collins. He was born in March 22, 1941, in New York, in the United States. American poet whose uncommonly accessible verse characterized by a plain language, gentle humor, and an alert appreciation for the mundane, made him one of the most popular poets in the United States. He won the title of Poet Laureate in between 2000 to 2003. His notable works were Questions about Angels, Sailing Around the Room, New and Selected Poems. Who do critics call Collins? For example, Michael Donaghy said about him, rare amalgam of accessibility and intelligence. And A.L. Kennedy said about him, great verse, moving, intelligent, and darkly funny. Go up. So we can see this video about his work.
I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been a spate of books that have come out lately contemplating or speculating on the cognition and emotional life of dogs. Do they think, do they feel, and if so, how? So this afternoon, in my limited time, I wanted to take the guesswork out of a lot of that by introducing you to two dogs, both of whom have taken the command speak quite literally. The first dog is the first to go, and he is contemplating an aspect of his relationship to his owner. And the title is A Dog on His Master. As young as I look, I am growing older faster than he. 7 to 1 is the ratio they tend to say. Whatever the number, I will pass him one day and take the lead, the way I do on our walks in the woods. And if this ever manages to cross his mind, it would be the sweetest shadow I have ever cast on snow or grass. Thank you. And our next dog speaks in something called the revenant, which means a spirit that comes back to visit you. I am the dog you put to sleep, as you like to call the needle of oblivion. Come back to tell you this simple thing: I never liked you. When I licked your face, I thought of biting off your nose. When I watched you toweling yourself dry, I wanted to leap and unman you with a snap. I resented the way you moved, your lack of animal grace, the way you would sit in a chair to eat, a napkin on your lap, a knife in your hand. I would have run away, but I was too weak. A trick you taught me while I was learning to sit and heal, and greatest of insults, shake hands without a hand. I admit the sight of the leash would excite me, but only because it meant I was about to smell things you had never touched. You do not want to believe this, but I have no reason to lie. I hated the car, hated the rubber toys, disliked your friends, and worse, your relatives. The jingling of my tags drove me mad. You always scratched me in the wrong place. All I ever wanted from you was food and water in my bowls. While you slept, I watched you breathe as the moon rose in the sky. It took all of my strength not to raise my head and howl. Now I am free of the collar, free of the yellow raincoat, monogrammed sweater, the absurdity of your lawn. And that is all you need to know about this place, except what you already supposed and are glad it did not happen sooner, that everyone here can read and write, the dogs in poetry, the cats, and all the others in prose. Thank you.
Well, this is another poem, Forgetfulness. The name of the author is the first go, followed obediently by the title, the plot, the heartbreaking conclusion, the entire novel, which suddenly becomes one you have never read heard of, as if, one by one, the memories you used to harbor decide to retire to the southern hemisphere of the brain, to a little fishing village where these are no phones. Long ago you kissed the names of the nine muses goodbye and watched the quadratic equation pack its bag. And even now, was as you memorize the order of the planets, something else is slipping away, and state flowers perhaps, the address of an uncle, the capital of Paraguay. Whatever it is you are strongly to remember, it is not poised on the tip of your tongue, not even lurking in some obscure corner of your spleen. It has floated away down a dark mythological river whose name begins with an L, as far as you can recall, while on your own way to oblivion, where you will join those who have even forgotten who to swim and how to ride a bicycle. No wonder you rise in the middle of the night to look up the date of a famous battle in a book on war. No wonder the moon in the window seems to have drifted out of a love poem that you used to know by heart. Collins has described himself as reader conscious. I have one reader in mind, someone who is in the room with me and who I am talking to, and I want to make sure I don't talk too fast or too glibly. Usually, I try to create an hospitable tone and the beginning of a poem. Stepping from the title to the first lines is like stepping into a canoe. A lot of things can go wrong. Colin further related, I think my work has to do with a sense that we are attempting all the time to create a logical, rational path through the day. To the left or right, there are an amazing set of distractions that we usually can't afford to follow, but the poet is willing to stop anywhere. Poetry of Wit by Bill Collins. Good humor, mix of reality and fantasy or surrealism, dubbed the most popular poet in America by Bruce Weber. Profound observation on in the everyday. His university studies reached the master's and doctorate, unprecedented in the world of contemporary poetry. Conclusion: the most influential of the poets of wit is Bill Collins. He is known to use wit to speak on deeper, more profound topics, but in a way that allows readers to find something to appreciate. Interesting facts about this author: Bill Collins wrote his first poem at 12 years old. He founded the Mid Atlantic Review. Um, he toured alongside singer Aim Man. He presented two TED Talks, and Collins did three readings of this poetry at the White House. And this is the reference, and thank you.